compare these 5 great water fountains, as each has clear pros and cons. Let's get into it. Except for the pump, these 3 are all stainless steel, which is really great for your pet. Their water's not touching plastic or very much of it. They seem to stay a little cleaner, and for my old cat, these don't cause acne on his chin. Now this one is a kind of a cross in that it is a plastic bin, but it has a metal top, which I have noticed works great for my old cat as well. So that is another way you can go. And then this one is all plastic. It has other pros, but that is one ding against it, is that it is straight plastic minus its spout. Now these 4 can be bubblers, or they have spouts. To turn them into bubblers, you simply pull out the spout and then it will bubble. Otherwise, it has a spout to have the water flow through. Whereas this one is only a bubbler. And in general, I find that the spouts make them quieter. The bubbling is definitely more of a noise you'll notice. When it comes to power, you can have all 5 of these plugged in and running 24/7. But these 4 can only be plugged in and run 24/7, whereas this one can run on a battery. You do not have to keep it plugged in, and on battery, you can have it run constantly, or it has 2 sensor options to allow it to only turn on when your pet is drinking from it, which I love. That means you only will hear it when your pet is at the water fountain. Now let's get into filters and pumps, as that is the one thing to pay attention to with these. When you invest in a fountain, you want to know that the filters and the pumps are going to last or be really easy to replace. This one has wonderfully standard filters and a very standard pump. You can get this from the brand itself, or there's a lot of generic options out there for all of these pieces. So it's really, really easy to get replacements. This one has the most custom filter, as it's this crazy triangular filter, but then it does have a standard cover for around the pump, and the pump itself is that same standard pump. So the pump and this filter are easy to deal with. This one, not so much. Though I do think you can shove this filter in there and it would work just fine. These 2 have the same covers on their pumps. And again, you're seeing the same thing. You're seeing that same pump down the line. And these ones have the same funny filter. It is another plastic filter with small filtration packets inside it. I'm not as impressed with these filters, and I'm sure there's a better option. I haven't found it, but you do need something larger than this, as they have pretty large filtration boxes here. Another thing you could do, because it's really only going through this very small opening, is put a standard filter like this one in there and then find some way to push it up more tightly against that so it does all filter through it. And then finally, this one's completely unique. It has a different pump cleaning filter, which is just a small piece that pops in right here, and it has a different filter as well. And this filter goes right in the top right here, and then it's covered. So this one's also more custom. Now one more piece before I fill them up, and that is how much they hold. These 2 obviously hold a lot more, and that is great if you have a multi-cat household and they go through a lot of water. These obviously hold a lot less. Now for me, I have 2 cats and I never fill these all the way. I usually fill them halfway because my cats never get through that in the time before I change the water. I like to change the water every 3 to 4 days. So I don't actually care how big the fountain is in regards to how much water it holds. I more care about how it looks in the space and how large the bowl is on the top. These 2 have very large bowls. So this means that the cat can be drinking from the spigot or from the bowls themselves, and they won't get hit by the spigot while they're drinking from the bowls. This one, when my cats drink from it, they can drink directly from the spigot just fine, but if they're trying to put their head down here to drink out of the bowl, for some reason they're always getting their head hit by the spigot. It's just a little too small. This one corrects for that problem by having this bump in the middle, which prevents the cats from drinking closer to the middle where the spigot is. And so this one works even though it's the same size. And this one completely skips the spigot issue by not having one at all and just being a bubbler. Now they're all filled with water, so you can hear how they sound. Now I'm going to start with the Relative. Now I always use it with the tea spigot, as that is very quiet, and I do love that it has a spigot that has water coming out both sides, as it's very inviting for my two cats. Now if I pull out the spigot, it becomes a lot louder. That is consistent with the rest of them, so I'm just going to compare them with the spigots in. Now I'm going to plug in the second one. They are both almost silent. Very, very quiet. I can hear slight whirring, but that's it. And remember, these all have the exact same motor, so as long as the motor's happy, it's going to be quiet. And you can clean the motor completely if it starts getting a little noisy. Let's plug in the next one. Now that I've plugged in these three, I can tell you that this one is slightly noisier than the other two, but they're all still very quiet. I did not expect that. And this one's actually the noisiest, by far. Now let me turn on this one, but remember, this one doesn't run 24/7. If you use the sensors, it will only run when the sensor is activated. And this one is definitely noisy, but I would say this one's a little louder. If I were to rank them from loudest to quietest, I would do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now one thing I didn't cover before is this one actually has a light on it. It will be blue when it has enough water, and it will go to red when it doesn't. This one is also slightly see-through, so you can see where the water level is at. Whereas these three, there is no way of telling where the water level is at without opening them up or waiting till they start gurgling because they're out of water. The final piece that I would think about when considering a fountain is what style best fits your space. These three metal ones are definitely shinier. They do show fingerprints, and some people don't like the metal style, like my husband. He thinks these look like sardine cans. This one has a very sleek, minimalist style, but again, it's all plastic, pros and cons. And then this one is a bit more minimalist, pretty simple style. You can flip this so you don't see this light up if you don't want the lighting, and that is a great way to use it. And I actually recommend having it face a wall so this sensor doesn't go off every time someone walks by, and it only goes off when a pet's mouth goes near the water fountain, as that is a much better way to control how often it turns on and off. But overall, they really are all great water fountains for completely different reasons. So here's a quick summary below them, and I hope that helps you make your cat water fountain decision. You really can't go wrong with any of these, but being informed will help you make the best decision for you. I hope this helps.